What is the smallest integer n for which 5 plus 3n is larger than 300? 5 plus 3n is larger than 300. So 3n would be larger than 295. Divide through by 3, and we get n larger than 98.3. So if n is larger than 98.3, the smallest integer that we could choose is 99. Kim places two very long and very heavy ladders, each 15 meters long, on a flat floor between two vertical and parallel walls. Each ladder leans against one of the walls. The two ladders touch the floor at exactly the same place. One ladder reaches 12 meters up one wall, and the other ladder reaches 9 meters up the other wall. In meters, how far apart are the walls? Well, let's label this. So they're both 15. So this is 15 and this is 15. The 12 and 9 are already labeled, and I'll label that X and that Y. So off we go. So first we'll use Pythagoras, and therefore 15 squared minus 12 squared is X squared. So that calculation gives me 9. On the other side, 15 squared minus 9 squared is Y squared, and that calculation gives Y equals 12. So they want the full distance. So they basically what they're asking for is X plus Y, which is 9 plus 12, and that's 21. In a group of 20 friends, 11 like to ski, 13 like to snowboard, and 3 do not like to do either. How many of the friends like to do both ski and snowboard? We'll make a little Venn diagram, and let's draw those circles, and here we go. So the total is 20, but 3 don't like to do either, so we'll put the 3 over here. The first circle I will call the ski people, and the second circle is the snowboarding people. And then let's plug in the numbers. Well, first I'll just put in letters A, B, and C for those regions. So A plus B are the ski people, and they tell me that's 11. And B plus C are the snowboarders, and did they tell me? Yeah, that's 13. And because we started off with a group of 20, and 3 are actually not included, that means only 17 are actually included in this A plus B plus C in those circles. Okay, well that's pretty straightforward. That means if I plug this into there, that gives me C equal to 6. And if I plug this into here, that would give me A equal to 4. And what are we trying to find here? How many of the friends like to do both? Oh, so basically what they're saying is find B. And if A is 4, then I can put that into there and get that B would be 7. So 7 people like to do both skiing and snowboarding. The pair xy is 2, 5 is the solution of the system of equations ax plus 2y is 16 and 3x minus y is c. Determine the value of a over c. So first thing I think would be just to plug it all in. So if I plug this into this, that would give me 2a plus 10 is 16. And then if I plug the 2, 5 into there, I would get, well, this actually we can solve. This is 2a equals 6, a is 3. Okay, well, that's pretty easy. And then if I plug the 2, 5 into here, I would get 3 times 2 minus 5 is c. So that means c is 1. And then a over c, then that would just be 3 over 1, which is 3. What is the smallest 2-digit positive integer k for which the product 45k is a perfect square? 45k, we want it to be a perfect square, so we want it to be like m squared. Now 45 is 3 to the power of 2 times 5 to the power of 1. And then we have k. So this is already a perfect square, so that's taken care of. In order for the rest to result in a perfect square, k has to have at least a 5 to the power of 1 to combine with that. Now, That's the smallest, but they want a 2-digit. Okay. Well, I guess the smallest would be to tack on the smallest perfect square, which is, well, the smallest perfect square is 1, but that still would make it a 2-digit. Still would make it a 1-digit. We want a 2-digit. So how about 2 squared? That would be 20. And I think that's the smallest. So k equals 20 is the smallest 2-digit positive integer, for which 45k is a perfect square. Clara leaves home by bike at 1 p.m. for a meeting scheduled with Quinn later that afternoon. If Clara travels at an average of 20 kilometers per hour, she would arrive half an hour before their scheduled meeting time. If Clara travels at an average of 12 kilometers an hour, she would arrive half an hour after their scheduled meeting time. At what average speed should Clara travel to meet Quinn at the scheduled time? So, speed is equal to distance over time, or time is equal to distance over speed. Those are the formulas. So, let's say t is the time that we're trying to find, the scheduled time. So, if we use that, let's see here. She's arriving half an hour early if she is going at 20. So I'm using this formula. And she's arriving half an hour late if she's going at 12. And then we have to solve for t. Okay, shouldn't be that big of a deal here. If I add these two equations, I'll get 2t is equal to d over 20 plus d over 12. And then let's see what I get. I've got to add this fraction, so it's going to be 12d. Hold on, let's see here. 12d plus 20d over 20 times 12. So 2t is equal to 32d times 240. So that means 480t is 32d, and therefore 480 over 32 is d over t. And d over t is s, according to our formula. So the speed would be 480 over 32, which I believe is 15. And that is the speed that she needs to travel in order to arrive on time with Quinn. Each entry in the list below is a positive integer. If the sum of any 4 consecutive terms in the list is 17, what is the value of c plus f? A, 8, B, C, D, E, F, G, and 2. All right, so we've got to think about this now. Somehow we have to come up with what is c plus f. All right. So any 4 are equal to 17, right? Any 4 consecutive terms. So that means these 4 are equal to 17. So that means these 3 would be equal to 15, right? Because that's 2 right there. Okay. Let's see if I can do something like that anywhere else. These 4 are 17, so that means these 3 would be 17 minus 8, which is 9. Okay. And not sure how much that helps. But one thing is for sure, that this guy's got to be a 2. D has to equal 2. That's the only way that D plus E plus F plus G would be equal to 17. All right, so we're getting somewhere. And similarly, E has to be equal to 8. That's the only way that B plus C plus D plus E can be equal to 17. Okay, so then now I'll just concentrate on these guys in the middle. C plus D plus E plus F is going to be 17, but we got values for D as 2 and E as 8, and therefore C plus F would be 17 minus 10, which is 7. And there we go. The sum of the lengths of all of the edges of the rectangular prism is 24. If the total surface area of the prism is 11, determine the length of the diagonal AH8. All right. So let's see if I can draw this diagram. So let me try to draw that AH. I'm trying to draw it in a way that, you know, it looks a little bit nice. So how about like that? Well, let's just put it on the side if that looks a little messy. So this would be sort of AH, right? And then this is HC, and that, I'm just going to label it first. We'll just call it height, length, and width. So HC is H, well, H for height. AC, well, that's a diagonal. I've got to figure that out. Okay, so that's going to be, using Pythagoras, L squared plus W squared, but the square root of that. Okay. And therefore, AH squared is going to be that squared, which is just L squared plus W squared plus H squared. And then, of course, at the end, I can take the square root of that. So AH would be the square root of that whole thing. Okay, so obviously we have to figure out the values of L, W, and H and all that. Okay, so let's see what we have here. The sum of all the lengths of the rectangular prism is 24. So that's going to be 4 lengths plus 4 widths plus 4 heights, correct? Because there's 12 sides, 12 edges, and they're saying that's 24. That means L plus W plus H divided through by 4 is 6. Okay, and then the surface area, that's 2 times LH plus 2 times LW plus 2 times HW, and that's 11. So I don't know if that can be simplified at all, but I think we'll just keep it at that. Now we're going to have to use some algebra, and I believe I'm going to use squaring this guy. So if I square this guy, that's going to be 6 squared. So that means, and I'm going to have to write all this out. LW, LH, WL, W squared, WH, plus HL plus HW plus H squared. And that's all 36. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Well, let's just group these. So we got L squared plus W squared plus H squared. That's grouped in one section. And then the rest, I believe, is 2LW plus 2LH plus 2WH. And that's 36. Well, this guy is 11. So that means L squared plus W squared plus H squared is 36 minus 11, or 25. So if I go back to this guy here, that means AH is the square root of 25, and that is 5. In the diagram, ABCD is a square. Points A, 1, 4, and B are on a parabola that is tangent to the x-axis. If C has coordinates 39 over 4 and 37 over 4, determine the equation of the parabola. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is draw some diagonals, A to C and D to B. There we go. And the center I will label M, that guy in the middle there. This center. Okay, and then A is 1, 4. And did they give me anything else? Yeah, C they gave me is 39 over 4 and 37 over 4. All right, so the M is the midpoint of those two. So you guys know how to figure out the midpoint formula. You add them and divide by 2. And then you add the other guys. So 37 over 4 plus 4 and divide by 2. And that would give coordinates of 43 over 8 and 53 over 8. All right. Okay, and parabola. What is the equation of a parabola again? What is it? Y equals a x minus r squared, I believe. And then I guess since a is on the parabola, we can substitute that in there for now, see if that helps it at all. It would be a times 1 minus r squared. Okay, that's about as far as I can go with what information they gave me. And now I guess the rest is up to me. So let's look at going from a to m. When you went from a to m, you went from 1, the x-coordinate, 1 to 39 over 4, correct? So that basically means you went across by 35 over, hold on here, a to m. You went from 39. Sorry, I got confused there. A to m, so not 39 over 4, 43 over 8. I was looking over here at C. Sorry about that. So when you went from a to m, you went from 1 to 43 over 8, and that basically means that you went across by 35 over 8. And then in terms of the up and down direction, let's do this right this time. You went from 4 to 53 over 8. So you go from 4 to 53 over 8. And that means you went up. You went up by 32 minus 21 over 8. Okay. So because of this diagram, we can use these very important points. This is very important, actually. It's going to help us figure out the coordinates of B, and I will explain how. So let's first draw a couple lines. The first thing, hopefully this doesn't become too messy, is a line straight down. That's perpendicular. That's pretty good. Let's draw another line all the way across like this. Yeah. And one more line from B across like that. Yeah. Now, that's really small, so I'm going to have to draw it again on the side here. So we've got this first triangle. This is M, and this is A, and this is a right angle. And then we got a little bit of an extension there, and we got the second triangle where this is B. And now, this is a square, so that angle, this angle is right angle, is a right angle. So if that's theta, this guy in there is 90 minus theta. And this is a right angle, so that means this is theta, and that angle in there is 90 minus theta. So that basically means that those two triangles are similar triangles. So they have the sides that are basically proportional, and that are the same. And they have the exact same length for their hypotenuse. That hypotenuse is the same as that hypotenuse, so therefore the other two sides should be equal. So, keeping that in mind, let's proceed. That what happens when you go from M to B, it's proportional. So we got to this time go down by the same amount, which is 35 over 8. So we got to go, this is the y coordinate, so we got to go from 53 over 8 down, so we're going to subtract that 35 over 8, and that's going to give me 18 over 8, which is 9 over 4. So that would be the y coordinate of B. Is that right? Yeah. So that would be 9 over 4. And then to go from M to B, we would have to go, we went down, then we got to go across by the same as what we did over here, 21 over 8. So M, this is M, so we have to go 43 over 8 plus 21 over 8. And that's going to be 64 over 8, and that works out perfectly to 8. So there you go. Now we got the coordinates of B. And that big long song and dance was done solely to get another coordinate for that equation. And when we substitute that in, we get 9 over 4 is equal to A times 8 minus R all squared. Okay, there you go. We got two equations, two variables, and that will allow us to solve. Okay, so, well, one of these equations we'll call 1. We'll call this guy 1. We'll call this guy 2. Okay, so here we go. Let's solve this now. So 2 divided by 1 would basically be A times 8 minus R squared all over A times 1 minus R squared. And that's going to be 9 over 4 over 4. The A's cancel, yay. And then we have 8 minus R squared all over 1 minus R squared. And that fraction becomes 9 over 4 over times 1 over 4, so it would be 9 over 16. 9 over 16. And then take the square root of both sides, and that would just give me 8 over R minus 1 over R, 3 over 4. That works out very nicely. And we have a choice now to make. It's plus or minus, so the right one is the minus one. And I'll let you figure out why the plus one was incorrect, because it won't give you a proper solution. So this one now we cross multiply, and you get 32 minus 4R is equal to 3R minus 3, if I did that correctly. And that means 35 is equal to 7R, and therefore R is equal to 5. And what are we trying to figure out in this question? Oh, we have to figure out the full equation, this guy. Okay, so we have R, I guess we have to figure out A. Yeah. All right. So let's just substitute everything we have. We know that we can use the point 1, 4, which is up there. So we have 4 is y, a we don't know, x is 2, x is 1, sorry, minus 5 all squared. So 4 is equal to a times minus 4 squared is 16. So a would be 4 over 16 or a quarter. All right, well, I think we have it. We have everything. So the equation would be y is equal to 1 over 4 times x minus 5 all squared. Determine the sum of all positive integers n less than 1,000 for which n plus 2 to the power 2015 is divisible by 257. All right, so we have a few things. 257 is prime. That's the first thing that is important to understand. And then we have to take this n plus 2 to the power 2015 and divide it by 257. And this has to give us some integer. And that's what it means if something is divisible. And then 257, just a little something I noticed is 256 plus 1, and that is 2 to the power of 8, I believe, plus 1. Just trying to see what kind of tidbits of information I can extract. So far, not much, but let's see what we can do. The first thing that came to mind is this formula for the sum of a geometric series that's looks kind of similar, but not exactly. You guys, some of you may remember, it's a times 1 minus r to the power of n all over 1 minus r. So if we can somehow make this guy look similar to this guy, that might help, but that's not going to be easy. Let's see here. Well, first of all, instead of that 257, I'm going to write 2 to the power of, I'm going to write 1 plus 2 to the power of 8 to make it look like this. And then let's see what I can do. If I make r equal to minus 2 to the power of 8, that could start looking like this. And then a, well, a, I'll just make that 1 so that I can kind of make the numerator over here look similar to that guy. And then what? And then that r to the power of n, we have to somehow make it, we have to make it close to 2 to the power of 2015. So I have to make it close to 2 to the power of 2015. So we already have r as 2 to the power of 8. So 2015 divided by 8 is about close to 251, I think. Approximately. Yeah. So in an attempt to make it look similar, if I made this r to the power of 250, I think that would come close, because that would be, well, r is minus 2 to the power of 8 to the power of 250 would make it 2000, and I think that's pretty close, actually. Yeah, that'd be pretty close. Okay, let's see what we get. Let's see what we get with this when we plug them all into here. So we got 1 and then 1 minus r to the n. So that's going to be minus 2 to the power of 2000. Wait, hold on. I want to actually get a little bit closer to 2015. If I make r to the n r to the 251, I think I can get even closer, because then it'll be 2 to the power of 8 to 251, and that'll be 2008. But if I go 252, it'll be 2016, and that'll be over, and I don't want to go over. So let me use 251. So it'll be 2 to the power, this is what, 251 is 2008. Yeah, I think that's probably a better way of using this. So minus 2008, and then 1 minus r, which is minus 2 to the power of 8. Okay, so let's see what this does. This is 1 plus 2 to the power of 2008 over 1 plus 2 to the power of 8. Okay, so I've made it very similar to what I had up here. That we've got this guy, and it's divisible by 257, which is 1 plus 2 to the power of 8. Okay, so that basically means that this numerator is divisible by this denominator, because it's the sum of a geometric series of integers. All right, great. But we still need that 2015 there. So I'm going to have to multiply by 2 to the power of 7, I think. If I do that, I'll get 2 to the power of 7 plus 2 to the power of 2015. And that'll be all over this 1 plus 2 to the power of 8. Okay. So that means that 2 to the power of 7 plus 2 to the power of 2015 is divisible by 1 plus 2 to the power of 8, which is 257, where n is my 2 to the power of 7. Okay, so I got one such value. N is 2 to the power of 7, which is what, 128, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's good. And they want me to find all of them on less than 1,000. Okay, all of them. Well, all the other ones would just be multiples of 257. You just keep adding 257, because if this is divisible by 257, if I add 257 to this number, this numerator, it'll be divisible by 257, which is in the denominator. So 128 plus 257 is my next one, which is 385. and then plus 257, 642, plus 257, 899. And if I add 257 again, it'll be over 1,000, and I've got to be less than 1,000. So these, I think, are the only values of n that will match all the criteria. And they want me to add them all, right? So they want me to add these. And when you add these four numbers, you get 2054. And that is the answer.